Just tell everybody to get back on. Oh, all right, guys. Never fails when it comes to technology. There's always going to be something that goes wrong, man. And I don't like being 1 minute late. I had to get that vent out. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabe Pearson, and welcome. Woo! Let me just take a deep breath. I guess I can still call this an historical event, even though it's our third virtual training. With many, many, many more to come. This is a huge success, and I want everyone to know that from the very get-go. Huge shout out to everyone who's on the West Coast. I know you had to get up at 7 a.m. Even people in the mountain time zone, you had to get up at 8 p.m. So I want to say thank you. I want to welcome all of the LifeVantage, all the new LifeVantage business partners. Welcome to an incredible team. 2018 has just been off the Richter scale so far. Jill and I are looking forward to helping each and every one of you. So we certainly want to welcome you to our virtual training this morning. And if you are a customer looking for more information about why you're on the products, you are in for a treat today. Thank you for being on this morning as well. I also want to welcome, our teams in Europe, our leaders in Germany. Big shout out to Marina and Alex and Klaus and their teams. Hope you guys are doing great this afternoon. Jill and I had the privilege of meeting the leaders from the Netherlands in the Bahamas last week. So a huge shout out to Ton and Shalky. Hey guys, hope you're doing great. Want a big shout out to your team as well. Looking forward to going out there and helping you build your businesses. Had the privilege of spending some time with them at the Bahamas, and it was really a huge moment for Jill and I. I want to also big shout out to Bob and April Wagner. I know you guys are on today. I know you're with your teams here in the United States, even though you have big groups out in Europe as well. Jill and I are looking forward to traveling with you guys, going out to the Netherlands and helping build the business, having a great time, having fun. And guys, that's what this business is all about. So really exciting times. Big shout out to Daniel Weber and his team out in Germany. Looking forward to traveling to Germany with you and Irina. Same deal. Looking forward to the fun and the culture of these brand new European markets. So there's some exciting times with LifeVantage, not to mention we just opened up 7 more countries. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So you can just literally think to yourselves, this virtual training is an international event. Today, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We have over 200 people registered. Jill and I just knew that this was going to be, like a LifeVantage Academy on steroids. I mean, we're just able to touch so many more people in the nooks and crannies of all these little cities and all the countries that we are in, and really no one has to spend any time, driving for hours or getting a hotel room the night before, spending the entire day, coming to a training. And I said this last month, virtual trainings will not replace LifeVantage Academies. There's nothing like watching and feeling the energy in a room. Learning from the leaders, right? Train live in the room. I mean, think about this. How many times have you seen your favorite band on TV, right? And then how about being in a concert, watching them live? Big difference, isn't it? All right. So, that's why I think it's extremely important, to invite your teams over, to build the camaraderie, team building, spending time together. Big shout out to Dr. Rebecca Glasser. I know she has done that this morning, and you got to remember now, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, in Colorado, and she has a group at her home. And that's what this business is all about, is building that camaraderie and team building, spending time together. So thank you for the leaders who have opened your homes today. The purpose of this virtual training is to help more teams get plugged in faster. That short, that simple, okay? In the last 6 to 12 months, you have heard leaders in this company say that they can, feel the excitement. The second growth spurt is coming. Well, today we are seeing it, all right? It's a big difference in feeling it and seeing it. This team is experiencing incredible growth. I mean, it's been an incredible year so far to date. It's actually record setting. And I want everyone that's on this webinar that's part of our team, and I want to welcome everyone who's outside of our team too. This is a big team building, meeting this morning, but it's really cool to hear the CEO of our company, recognize our team as being one of the fastest growing teams in the company. That's exciting stuff. So if you're a guest today, pay attention to what's going around. You've got some people around you that are moving and shaking and knows how to build this business. Darren Jensen, our CEO of LifeVantage, talked about the company's growth in our third quarter earnings release. And if you want to read it, just go to Yahoo Finance and type in LifeVantage. He also talks about the direction that we're moving in. When we were in Indianapolis at our last quarterly event, he described the operation and infrastructure LifeVantage has built over the past few years as think of it like a super highway. And among other things that he talked about, it's a refined brand. We're investing, a lot of money in artificial intelligence with companies in Silicon Valley, and our apps are the direct byproduct of that. He talked about an overhauled compensation and incentive plan, a more seamless shopping experience, especially with our new app that we just rolled out. How simple is it and faster is it to be able to enroll customers and distributors because of this artificial intelligence? And that's what he was talking about. So there's so much more that's coming. So hang on for dear life, keep the gas pedal, literally floored. In the industry, LifeVantage is now the go-to company. There are top leaders enrolling as we speak. I mean, LifeVantage is moving out of the formulation part of growth into critical mass. And all indicators are saying that we're going to bypass critical mass fairly quick and jump into momentum. 80% of market share. What that means is 80% of money to be made is in the momentum phase. So there are extremely exciting times with this company, and we're going to start the training today in the next 20 minutes. This portion of the training is primarily for our guests today. First and foremost, thank you so much for coming and sharing your breakfast with us. Congratulations. You are literally 1 in a million to find out about a new paradigm in health that, in my opinion, every household in this country is going to know about in the next 3 to 5 years. It's called nutrigenomics. It's the research of how nutrients and natural compounds, foods, affect our genes. Wall Street just came out recently and said that this industry, nutrigenomics, will reach $1 trillion by the year 2020. This company is the foremost leading authority. We're first to market. So that's really exciting. How much of that trillion do you want, right? How many of you have heard the term nutrigenomics? Think about that for a second. You think there's an opportunity here? Who wants to be first? Jill and I started with this company back in 2009, was a $3 million a year in revenue company. And we rode it to 200 million, and it brought us to the top of this company. We're talking about $1 trillion, folks. So this is huge. This morning, you're going to be hearing from someone who's going to help you understand the enormity of this opportunity. And before I introduce him, I want you to be thinking about this during his presentation. Hopefully, he will be talking directly to you. And some of the questions I want you to be asking yourself right now Are you satisfied financially where you are today? I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to say that again. Are you satisfied financially where you are today? Are you on pace to retire? Is that even an option for you baby boomers and above out there? Most people that I talk to today say they're going to have to work until they drop. Or are you above your pay grade? Meaning, are you getting paid what you're worth? Is your family getting what they deserve? So I want you to be thinking about these questions when you hear this gentleman speak in the next 20 minutes. If you're looking for some retirement help, or what we call a side hustle, a second stream of income, to help you get back to where you need to be financially, because so many people are so backwards, right? Or it's as simple as just getting out of debt. How would you like to have your credit cards paid off? Or your college loans paid off? Or how about putting away college now so there isn't any loans? You see what I'm saying? Or start putting this side hustle money away for retirement, or buy a home. I could go on and on. Or if you're a millennial, we have a lot of millennials on today. I'm sure you don't want to follow your parents' footsteps. What we did was called the 40 to 50 year plan. You work 40 to 50 hours a week for 40 to 50 years to retire on 40 to 50% what we couldn't live on when we're making 100%. And most of us are still working today, right? This opportunity of what you're going to hear this morning gets that 40 to 50 year plan reduced to a 3 to 5 year plan. So it's, also what you're going to hear this morning has significant income potential. To accomplish all of that, you have a flexible schedule. It doesn't interfere with your primary source of income, right? There's no glass ceiling, low startup cost. Work this side hustle from anywhere, right? You can work from it on this little device right here. Exclusive category creating products with no competition. And it more importantly has a proven system. So this gentleman that I'm about to introduce to you, I've known for 7.5 years. He's really responsible for me growing my business outside of Jacksonville. The very first city that I visited outside of Jacksonville was his hometown of Jackson, Mississippi. He and his wife, Becky, opened up their home to me when I came into town. What he's doing right now, he works with children that has it's child, adolescent, and parent issues. He works with a beautiful white dog called Peaches. He works 6 to 7 hours a week. So all he's doing is giving back right now. He was a former real estate developer. Today, he is what is known as an Elite Pro 8, which means his business does a minimum of $200,000 a month. Folks, that's a $2.4 million a year business. Not bad for starting as a little side hustle. And he was able to walk away from, the real estate development world. And I want to welcome Elite Pro 8, Fred Davis. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for being on this morning. I've got my notes, my notepad right here. I can't wait to hear what you have to share with everyone today.
Well, thank you. I'm going to start with a description of a flight. And this flight was long enough that the seatmates were able to actually visit. And as this particular visit went along, it was going well enough that when the well-dressed older woman next to him asked, "May I give you some advice?" the young executive gave her his full attention. And this is what she said. Employment and hard work will support you, but financial success comes from great ideas and hard work. You don't necessarily have to be the one with the great idea, but you've got to be the one who recognizes it and acts on it. And in every industry, she said, in every industry, real wealth has come from an idea and an effort, not just an effort. Now, the young man admitted when asked that he had not yet found his one great idea. She said, that's fine. That's not unusual. And that doesn't surprise me at all. But what is disturbing as I travel around and have this conversation with people is how few of them are really even looking for that one great idea, searching for it. She concluded with this statement, and I want you to think about it. She said, if you do not look, you will not see. So my question to you today is, are you looking? The fact that you're here, that you're up and active on a Saturday morning is encouraging to me. Oh, the young man on the plane, he did find his one great idea and he acted on it. His name, Darren Jensen. He's president and chief executive officer of the LifeVantage Corporation, developer, manufacturer, and distributor of Protandem products. And the older executive, her great idea, ever heard of Lego toys? Hello, my name is Fred Davis, and Becky and I have found our one great idea. We found it in early 2011, and we acted on it. And by the time we met Gabe Pearson in March of that year, our real estate business had tanked. Gabe graciously said that I walked away from it. I could have stayed there, but they were not paying me. So we were living out of a retirement fund. Now, we were living out of a retirement fund, but we were not retired. You don't have to be an investment advisor to know that is not a great idea. As it turns out, real estate developers don't really ever get to retire. They work until they go broke or become president. Jill, you said I could say anything that I wanted. So I said that. So we asked Gabe at that time, what do we have to do to make $5,000 a month? Because at that point, that was about what we were taking out of our savings. He told us. We did it. And then we asked about $10,000. And then we asked about more. And here we are, 7 years later. We're not only in much better health. Believe it or not, I look better. Those of you who've not seen me before will question that, but those of you who remember, I look better than I did 7 years ago. How many of us can say that? And that retirement fund is now fully funded. A significant retirement fund is available to us. Now today, I'm going to tell you what Gabe told us, and I'm going to tell you to do it. And if you do it, it may be that your retirement fund or your education fund or your travel fund, if you're a millennial, or even your financial legacy fund, if you're one of those who wants to leave money to those children who may or may not deserve it. All of that may, in a few years, be big, really big. First thing, get your questions answered. That's important because think about it. What you're hearing today and what you've been told recently is that this stuff works every time on everybody. 100% of the people here, 100% of their dogs, their horses, everywhere, every time, no question, 100%. Really? That's pretty hard to take. And now that our government's gotten involved in studying the product, you're hearing that it actually extends life. An herbal product, safe, natural, inexpensive, that extends life. Really? Don't you want to prove that? I think it's important to believe it wholly, otherwise you doubt it to some extent. And if you doubt it, you won't do it. And if you won't do it, you'll miss it. Ask us to prove it. Don't just take information like, For example, you're going to hear us say it's well regulated. Food and Drug Administration regulates the product, the Federal Trade Commission regulates the distribution, and the Securities and Exchange Commission regulates the corporation. Well, if that's true, why am I hearing it's not FDA approved? Good question. Also, if it's so great, why can't I say it cures or treats or mitigates disease? That's another good question. I want to quickly give you a reference. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but what I'm holding up is a 7-page document. All of you can get it. Google Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. The good news here, 4 things happen in this document. This is well before our company, so I'm not getting in trouble with claims here. But what this document will do for you, print it off, 7 pages, it will tell you that dietary supplements, nutrients like ours, cure, treat, and mitigate diseases. And it'll mention cancer, heart disease, other things, all the things that you want to say and can't. And that's the first thing it'll do. The second thing it'll do, it'll say, because of that, we're not going to treat you like a drug. You are exempt from FDA approval. Now, FDA approval process, therefore, from that point on, was exclusively for pharmaceutical drugs. We now know that that process cost $800,000 to $1 million. So we're exempt from that. Third thing they did was they said, however, the Federal Drug Administration will regulate all supplements. So from day one, first pill, to this day, every product from LifeVantage has been regulated by the Federal Drug Administration. Fourth thing, in exchange for the first 3, in exchange for saying, yes, we know it's proven that these products cure, treat, and mitigate, and in exchange for exempting you from the billion-dollar ticket of being approved, and for putting you under the regulation of the Food and Drug Administration, in exchange for that, you cannot act like a drug. And that's the reason, ladies and gentlemen, we can't say it cures cancer. Does not mean we do not think that our products treat, cure, and mitigate. We can think it, but we can't say it. Okay, answer questions like that. Because if you don't get answers, you're not going to deep down believe it every time, everywhere, everybody, their dog and their horse. I'm here 7 years later to tell you there are 0 exaggerations in anything that you'll hear. Every surprise you will have with LifeVantage will be a good one. And there are lots of them. So prove it to yourself. Now, Gabe says that will take you about 20 minutes if you can read. But even if it took you 30, it's essential that you not take our word for it, but that you know it, believe it, and you'll do it. Otherwise, you'll miss it. Now, number 2, if you're planning to make an income with us from this discovery you just made, from this great idea, if you're planning to do that, then I've got some encouraging facts for you. Before you enter any kind of business, you need to know what setting you're in. I mean, you need to know that we're in the healthcare business, the healthcare industry, wellness, whatever you call that. That is huge. Now, you don't want a small industry. You don't want to be in the CD industry and business where you're out of business. You don't want to be in the buggy whip business, even if yours is the best, because that business is not here. Why I'm telling you this is the industry is essential. Without the industry, you have no foundation, no matter how great your company or your product or your idea is. So this industry is the largest, not just a big one. 3 trillion, 3 T's last year. Okay, that's important. And it also has movement in one direction over time. Every year is bigger. Now that's different from cycles. Tell me about real estate cycles. We can talk about that. Talk about automotive cycles. Talk about housing. Talk about furniture, consumer goods. Those are things that you may have good years followed by not so good years. The good news here, if you're planning to make an income with this, is that the industry is more than stable. It's huge, and it's more than huge. It's growing. Okay. Tell you two things about this industry also. It makes sense. Not only does it make money, but it makes sense to take care of yourself. It makes sense to improve your health. And here's another thing, because you are helping others know that they can do the same. This industry not only makes money and makes sense, but it makes a difference. And making a difference, the older you get, the more you'll care about that. And I'm addressing this mainly to the millennials who maybe are focused on the money and making sense, but they're not so much thinking about their legacy. The legacy is what you leave when you're not here. And this makes a difference. I'm going to tell you about two conversations. One was with a young doctor, 30 or 40, I don't know how many years ago. But he told me with the sense that he was sharing something important to me. He said, Fred, what I love about my work, he's a young pediatrician in a small town in Mississippi. He said, when I go to work, I'm making a living for my family. And at the same time, I'm making a difference for others. Now, I was a real estate developer at that time. And, I couldn't say that. I had to go to work to make a living for my family. And then I had to look outside of my work to fulfill that part of me that wanted to make a difference. Fast forward 40 or more years. I'm in an audience of 5,000 or more people at a LifeVantage training. And I see a Dr. Martin standing with a microphone on the stage. This is a man who had just retired recently from a lifetime as a family medicine practitioner. And he said this, he said, I always wanted to make a difference. And that's why I became a doctor. And in the year and a half that I have been promoting the effects of Protandim, I've made a bigger difference with more people than I did in a 40-plus year medical career. Keep those two things in mind if you're one of those people who know that you want to make a difference. Now, number three, this 15-year-old company behind the product we're talking about, LifeVantage, is prosperous. Gabe mentioned 200 million plus in annual revenue, and it's principled. By that I mean it is a corporate citizen in great standing, not only in its state, but in the country, and now becoming worldwide. Corporate citizen. Now, number three, not only is it prosperous and principled, but it's public. Now, that means that you're able to go and look to see if you can confirm what I've just said about how prosperous it is. All the numbers are there since 2003, which is when it started. So it's prosperous, it's principled, and it's public. You can, by looking in the public records, find the different projects where LifeVantage and its people have sent surgeons into third world countries to help fix facial disfiguration. You can see studies of where they've made a difference in building housing in underprivileged areas. So it's profitable, it's principled, and it's public. That's very important. Number four, earning potential. Now, we mentioned that 200 million annually last year. A full 1/2 of that is distributed back to us, to the field. So there's $100 million and growing opportunity. You need to ask questions about that. You need to say, well, what does that mean to me? Well, I obviously, Fred, you're not getting $100 million. No, I'm not. But let me tell you how we are paid. You need to ask about the unique compensation. Most people are familiar with what is known as activity compensation. You complete an activity and you receive pay for it, whether it's teaching, doctoring, or lawyering, or bricklaying. You get paid again when you work again. We're used to that, activity pay. You may not be so familiar with asset compensation. Asset compensation doesn't require repeating the activity. We're paid again and again with LifeVantage as long as the asset that we put in place is still in place. Now, LifeVantage compensation is therefore a hybrid of activity and asset pay. Very, very important. LifeVantage is a hybrid of activity pay and asset pay. The activity is attracting product users. That's what Gabe will tell you. And activity pay is made to us weekly. And it's a 40% commission. So nothing small about that. Now, the asset, of course, is the product user. And asset pay is paid to us monthly. And it's roughly a 5% commission. So this is a special partnership we have with a company that pays us in a hybrid manner. It's a special 50-50 partnership. By that I mean that $100 million that we get is about half of what they got. So here's how it works. Here's the partnership. LifeVantage does the formulating, the manufacturing, the collecting, the shipping, the accounting, and a list of other things. And for that, they keep 1/2 of the revenue. So what do? We attract the product user. That's the end of our list. We attract the product user, the asset. And for that, we get the other half. Pretty good partnership. Now, there are other equally exciting ways that we're paid, 4 or 5 ways. But for now, time prevents a discussion of that. I will tell you 2 things that I know about asset pay. I certainly don't know anything about asset pay from my career as a real estate developer or my time as a family therapist. I had to do the activity to get the pay. It's still true. Gabe mentioned that I only spend about 6 to 8 hours a week in family therapy with kids, adolescents, and their parents. But I have to do that to get paid. There's no asset pay to that. Let me tell you one story about a roommate I had once. Nice guy. Every January, first of the year, every year, $150,000 were deposited into his account. You see, his grandparents in Atlanta years earlier, 2 generations earlier, had invested in a great idea, Coca-Cola. And they were able to, in subsequent years, turn that asset into something big enough to generate interest of $150,000 a year for my roommate. Asset pay does not require activity in that generation or the next generation or the next generation. Think about that if you are one of those who wants to make a difference with your family in terms of legacy. In other words, when Papa's not here on the 15th of the month, you want him talking about you, right? All right, let me tell you another thing about asset pay. One of our kids is a lawyer. There, I said it. You know, every family has something. We have a lawyer. I'm kidding if he's listening. I don't know that he is. But not too far into this, I get a call from Rick, and he says, Dad, have you read the policies and procedures? Those of you who know me know my answer was no. He said, well, you need to. This, talking about our distributorship, my distributorship, Becky and I have this distributorship. He said, it's an asset. And I said, well, I know that. I mean, Economics 101, an asset is something that I did not take Economics 101, but Economics 101 tells you that an asset is defined as something that creates, throws off an income, interest, that sort of thing. So I said, yeah, I know that. I know that. He said, well, no. It's kind of asset that is inheritable. I want you to get what this kid was doing that day. He then said, so Dad, how are we doing? Well, that irritated me somewhat, and I told him, look, you may get this, but because I'm taking this stuff, you're not getting it for a long time. So asset pay is something you need to leave this conversation this morning with, and think about it. Do you have enough of it? Okay. Now, so what did Gabe tell us to do? He came to Mississippi. He said, you got to do two things. He said, you got to use the products and get a refill every month. Now, at that point, there were only one or two products. And the great thing is now you have an assortment. One, get the products and use them every month. Get the refill so you'll be sure. Number two, get a group of people together and tell them to do the same thing. You know, Gabe, it was really that simple. So we did that. They came together. They ordered the products. They got a refill every month. And we kept doing that. Now, those two activities Gabe pointed out will yield you hundreds, maybe even 1,000 or two of income, active and asset income. He said, now, if what you're looking at is a larger income, which obviously we were, then there's something else you've got to do. You've actually got to learn about the industry, about the products. You've got to actually have some training. Now, that's important because often I run into people who really, they say they're not, but they really are get-rich-quick people. And by that, I mean they look at our earnings statement, which is published. Maybe you'll see it at some point this morning. It's published, screened by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then made public to us. And it says that there are people doing what we do, a lot of them who make $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 a month in asset pay. Okay. It then also shows that there are some, like Gabe and Jill, who are making 6-figure, 7-figure annual income. So in other words, here you'll see a list of people who are making more than their doctor, more than their lawyer, and in some cases more than their doctor and their lawyer put together. Now, if you're joining our company and you see that and you tell me, look at that bottom line, that's where I'm going to be, watch my smoke. Well, then I'm going to say, great. But if I hear you a month or two later say you can't run to training because it's 2 hours away and costs $25, I'm going to ask you, you know, if you want what your doctor makes, are you going to skip medical school? You know? So you want to be a surgeon, but you can't afford medical school. Why don't you go out and perform a few surgeries on your family, make a little money until you can afford medical school? See how silly that is? Do not expect this to be a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not. And it never will be. So the number 3 thing, if you're going to create a big income out of this, you've got to attend every event. Now, I'm going to talk to you, and you're going to hear the idea that big money is possible, that money that keeps coming when you are not creating an effort. And it may sound unreasonable. It may sound like we're promising more than we should, but I want you to think back to when you first entered the workforce, in your 20s or whenever you first started in your career. Your idea at that time was not to work until you dropped. Be honest. Now, you may understand now that you can't quit, but be honest. When you started this game, the idea was to work hard, save, invest, and at some point be able to throttle back on the activity and enjoy life, smell the roses, and yet still have an income from your savings and your investments, right? Now, some of you may have thought, I'll work 30 years. Some of you may have said 40 years. But I can promise you, if you be honest, nobody started working in their 20s saying, I'm going to work 50 or 60 years. No, that was not the plan. The plan has morphed. Let me tell you why the plan has morphed. It has morphed because the rules have been changed, okay? In a generation or so past, as recently as the 90s, if you put aside money, if you had $1 million savings at the end of your 30 or 40 years, interest rates were 10 to 12% on savings accounts. Now, what does that mean? That's over $100,000 interest payment to you on that $1 million as you retire. Now, you could retire on that, couldn't you? Especially with prices back then. Okay, so what has happened today? do this. It will not take you but a few minutes. I did it yesterday to make sure I was not misrepresenting anything. That payment, that interest now on bank deposits, 2 to 3%. In fact, I found a company in Tennessee, First Tennessee, that was advertising the CD rate under 2%, and they were proud of it. So what has happened? Your $1 million, those of you who are sitting there saying to me, look, I've got it made. I've got $1 million in the bank. What is your $1 million going to do when you have to live from it? It's going to give you, do the math, 2% is going to give you $20,000 a year retirement. That's $1,600 and something dollars a month. You're not going to live on that. Or at 3%, maybe you'll have $30,000 a year retirement. That's not going to work. The reason I mention this is I want those of you who are sitting, listening to this saying, look, Fred, I've already got my good idea, and it's working, and I'm good at it, and we're saving money. We've got $1 million in the bank. Well, let me tell you something. If you follow your plan from when you were 20 and you pull back, but you don't want your standard of living to pull back, you got to have more than $1 million or $2 million. And if you're sitting here and you've got the 3 or 4 or 5 million you need, then you're in good shape. And we want to commend you, and we also want you to buy every product we have and get a refill. So that's important bad news. The bad news, the rules have been changed. And I'll tell you this, if you don't change with them, if you keep playing the game with the old rules, you're going to lose. You're going to find yourself 65 years old without a retirement plan, without retirement money. Anybody who's told you, too, that retirement is a less expensive time in your life, that since you're not working, you're not spending as much money, that's a myth. The truth is you've got a lot of time to spend money. Yeah, and everything on your bucket list. Do you have one? You got a bucket list. Look at every one of those items. They cost money, okay? We're going to Italy in the fall. You know, for years I said, I didn't want to travel. It's not fun to travel anymore. It's too dangerous. You know when I was saying all that? When I couldn't afford it. You have a rationalization process that keeps you from being really depressed. But what I want to tell you is that if you've got something on your bucket list, like going to Greece and Italy for 2.5 weeks, you got to have some asset income. Okay, I think I beat that horse to death, as they say. I told you my numbers didn't work back in 11, and so I did something different. If you don't like where you are and you stick with that plan, you're going to stay where you are. So I knew that. So I did something different. I ordered the products. I set up a refill. I told other people to do that. They ordered the products. They got a refill. They told other people to do that. And each month, we get a small commission on each of the refills, including the one in February of 2011, the 5 in February of 2011, and every one of the refills since then. So now, and this is the part that I want you to believe, I'm going to be honest with you. So now every month, our bills, our utilities, our cars, our mortgage, our vacations, everything is paid for every month with a commission from each of those refills. Now that makes sense, and it's making a difference. So our hope for you is that if your numbers don't work, and you'll know that if you'll spend a few minutes with them, our hope is that you'll do something about it. And I want to suggest, as I close, that using something that is safe, effective, inexpensive, natural, and actually extends life is a great idea. And knowing that as you tell other people to do that, they can do the same is going to make a difference. So our prayer for you is that you see that what you're hearing about makes sense, makes money, but most importantly, makes a difference. Back to you, Gabe.
Fred, thank you so much. That was awesome. I took down some great notes, and I want everyone to understand you just heard words of wisdom. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Words of wisdom. All right. Asset pay doesn't require activity. That should be stapled onto your speedometer on your car. So you constantly remind yourself when you go to work and you're getting paid for the 8 hours that you go to work. All right. And then when you leave, the meter stops. That's not fun. How's that been working for you? So this is something different, okay? Listen to Fred. We've been through it. We've mastered, this business, and that's one of the major reasons why we have these monthly trainings right here. So Fred, thank you so much for your wisdom. So there's some questions right now. Yes, this is recorded. It will be on Connect and Make an Impact. So if you are outside of our group and you're not connected with us yet, just go ahead and reach out to us, and we will accept you as a friend to be a part of this training mechanism. We're only going to keep this recording maybe a week at the longest, okay? Because we want you to watch it. I know one thing, I am a big Darren Hardy fan, and I subscribe to his Darren Daily every single morning. And if I don't watch it, or if I do watch half of it, it's gone in 2 or 3 days. Same format, folks. All right. You want to be able to master this thing so you move forward in life. A nugget that Fred had talked about was you never miss a training. For those of you, write this down in your notes. If you are not registered for the Anaheim Elite Academy, that's a quarterly event that this company has. It's a part of the business model. I can assure you one thing, Fred and I, or leaders within this company, has not missed one. That's how you learn the business. That's how you understand the enormity of the business. So make sure you register and get your teams to register. With that said, now I have the honor and privilege, to introduce our next speaker. And I have to put my glasses on because her resume is this long, and I'm just going to read a short bit of it. She received her undergraduate degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, her medical school university degree from UNC Chapel Hill. Then she went out to the University of Florida to receive her surgery residency. Her plastic surgery residency was back at UNC Chapel Hill. And folks, that's 6 years of training. Her first job was assistant professor for plastic surgery back at the University of Florida, teaching medical students and residents. She had a private practice here in Jacksonville for 9 years, specializing in breast reconstruction. She had a great relationship here with the Mayo Clinic here in Jacksonville, and that's when I had the privilege of getting to know her and building a relationship with her, and actually had the privilege of becoming business partners with her. She did this side hustle, folks, just on the side. And in 5 years, she was able to make some choices in life. And now she is with LifeVantage full time. So I want to welcome Dr. Rebecca Glasser. Rebecca, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I see everybody I see your team behind you.
Okay, I've got the gang here, so everyone's just going to kind of wave. And this is our little Grand Junction group. So
I love it. Congratulations on what you've done in Grand Junction. And by the way, folks, she had left Jacksonville, I think a little over 4 years now, for the peace and quiet of life and the tranquility of being able to walk up and down mountains and things like that. So she is now in Colorado, and she's developed a great team out there as well. Well, Dr. Glasser, I'm really, really excited to have you on today. I know that you do such an elegant job on helping everyone understand our vitality stack, what we call the core four. So I'm just going to let you have it, and thank you so much for being on today.
No, thank you, Gabe. Thanks for having me. So we're going to get down to it. And, if you've watched Gabe and I's webinars before, I've been lucky enough to be a guest on his program. And so that's what we're going to cover today, is a little bit of the science, so you understand why these products are so important. Now, as you heard Fred talk earlier, in the beginning, 9 years ago, all we had was Protandim. That was our only product. That's our flagship product. We now have over 23 peer-reviewed studies on Protandim and the science behind it. So I am going to see if I can make that a little bigger. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see me okay, but here's the initial flagship product. It's Protandim Nerf 2. So let's kind of go over some of the science that was invested in this. And so, the first thing we're going to talk about is what's called oxidative stress. And oxidative stress, it's a very fancy word, but the word oxidation just literally means to rust. It's our bodies rusting from the inside out. Now, in the medical literature, oxidative stress is a big deal. One of the places that we as physicians and really a lot of people go for their research is the National Institute of Health, or the NIH. And the NIH allows you to look up all of the peer-reviewed studies that are done on different products, whether they're pharmaceutical or nutraceutical. So if you typed in oxidative stress to NIH or PubMed.gov, what you would see is that we now have more than 180,000 studies on oxidative stress and how it is related to every disease and to every cancer. I mean, it's related to everything. And so what our company did was we really were trying to figure out how to combat aging, how to actually reduce oxidative stress. And so Protandim Nerf 2, that was the first study that was done. And what it showed was that if you took 1 pill a day of Protandim for 30 days and you measured your oxidative stress after those 30 days, it would actually reduce it by an average of 40% in 30 days in 100% of humans. Okay, so that's what Fred was talking about. That's a crazy number. It's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. And all of the 23 studies that built after that were all based on that initial science. Now, in addition to that, let's kind of talk a little bit about free radicals and antioxidants, because I think a lot of us have taken antioxidants over the years. So antioxidants might be things like kale or blueberries, or you might take vitamin C or vitamin E. And these antioxidants are important in your diet. And the reason many of us take these antioxidants is to fight off what we call free radicals. Now, free radicals are out in the environment. They're bombarding our bodies. They can be caused by bad things in life, like being exposed to too much sunlight or pollution or smoking or other toxins that are in your environment. But what we have found in addition to that is that free radicals can be created by good things we do in life. And so, for example, if I went up on a hike on the monument or went skiing or went swimming or any of those good things, those also can cause free radical production. Even just sitting here talking and breathing, I'm producing free radicals. Free radicals then go on to cause mutations within our cells, which lead to disease and lead to that higher oxidative stress as we were speaking of. So in the past, we've taken our antioxidants, and those are direct antioxidants. But the way I think of them is one and done, okay? So if this morning I had blueberries, those blueberries would interact with one free radical, both would be destroyed, and then the process would be over. But what if you could instead up that rate, make it a more efficient system? That's what Protandim does, because Protandim activates a pathway that's called NRF2 or NRF2. So it's right there on the bottle. I don't know if you guys can see it, but NRF2. Now that pathway activates what we know to be about 500 different survival genes. And those survival genes, is the name alone, it sounds good, right? You want more survival genes. So those survival genes can be antioxidant enzymes. Now I'm going to date myself, but let's think of antioxidant enzymes as little Pac-Men, and they're going around and they're gobbling up all of those free radicals at 1,000,000 times per second, 24 hours a day for over a week. And so instead of this old-fashioned one and done thing, think of these antioxidant enzymes, or these good enzymes, as gobbling up all of those free radicals at 1,000,000 times per second. It's like taking a giant vacuum cleaner and getting rid of all the damage, helping your body heal itself by getting rid of all of this bad stuff that's in the cells. But in addition to that, in addition to those antioxidant enzymes, Protandim Nerve2 actually activates anti-inflammatory enzymes. And so again, as we think about this, we think about disease and what happens to us as we age. So much is occurring with inflammation. And so to be able to reduce inflammation is a wonderful thing. Inflammation is involved with heart disease, with diabetes, with sports activities, arthritis, autoimmune diseases. You name it, inflammation is involved with it. And so this is this pathway that's being activated. What I love about it is it's a pathway that naturally occurs within your body. It's already there. It worked great when you were 20, but maybe not so great as you became older, and it needs to be activated again. And that's what these activators, these products, do for us. Now, the pharmaceutical industry has certainly looked at this and developed some of their own Nerve2 activators. The one that I'll talk about was developed in the treatment of MS. It was developed by the company Biogen, and it's called Tecfidera. MS is an autoimmune disease. It's inflammatory. It waxes and wanes. It affects the nerves. So interestingly, when Tecfidera was initially produced or discovered, and they were doing it in initial trials, they compared it to Protandim, and they actually found that Protandim, our little yellow pill, was actually a more potent Nerve2 activator than Tecfidera. Now, Tecfidera was launched. It is still available by prescription. It costs about $50,000 a year to take. And as you can imagine, because it's a pharmaceutical drug, it has a lot of side effects. Not everyone is able to tolerate it. So as you think about these products and you think about health, and we as physicians think about do no harm, how wonderful it is that we have a plant-based product that physiologically does everything your body would normally do, and it outbeat Big Pharma, all right? So that's Protandim Nerve2. It helps reduce oxidative stress. It increases your antioxidant enzymes to get rid of all of the toxins within your cells, the harm within your cells, and it reduces inflammation. The next one we're going to talk about is the sister of Protandim Nerve2, and it's called Protandim Nerve1. And so if you go back to your basic biology classes, we used to talk about our mitochondria, and our mitochondria is the powerhouse of our cell. It's what causes energy. So it's just like going out to your car and having an empty tank. You have no gas in your car's not going to run very well. Well, without your mitochondria, your cells don't run well. Your body doesn't run well. You have to have a full tank. And so unfortunately, those mitochondria, as we age, they become damaged. They don't work as well as they used to. And so Protandim Nerve1 activates that pathway to make more mitochondria and healthier, stronger mitochondria. And this makes sense. Most of us, as we age, you hit that 40-year mark and you start losing energy. Your 50-year mark and you get perimenopausal and you're like, holy cow, why am I so tired? And so Protandim Nerve1 helps with energy, but really interesting is it also helps with sleep, particularly deep sleep or REM sleep. People who try the Nerve1 will say, oh my gosh, I'm having the most incredible dreams. I dream in color. I can remember my dreams. I feel so rested when I wake up in the morning. So again, sleep and energy are such a part of aging, and it's wonderful that we have a product that can help with those two areas. The next one that I'm going to talk about in the vitality stack is the probiotic, okay? Now, I am just falling in love with the probiotic because if you have been watching the news over the last couple of years, everything is about gut health. Holy cow, I think it is our second brain. It is absolutely tied to everything. One of the biggest things we learn about gut health is that 80% of our immune cells live in our gut. And so if we have an unhealthy gut, we have an unhealthy immune system. In addition, we listen and hear about leaky gut or inflammation within the gut. So having a healthy microbiome, having good, happy bacteria in there are going to help create that healthy gut. Now, in addition, the gut is really tied to the brain. Like we said, it's our second brain. There's studies that tie healthy gut with autism, with MS, with Alzheimer's dementia. I mean, all of these things are tied together: mood, anxiety, depression. And it's amazing when you put someone on a good probiotic, what it does for their entire system. It's tied with weight loss. It's tied with everything. But as you all know, there's a ton of probiotics out there. It's hard to discern which one is good, which one is bad. I will tell you that you do not want to listen to Jamie Lee Curtis. She's lying to you. Activia does nothing for you except it might taste good and has a whole lot of sugar in it. But it never makes it past the stomach. It never makes it past the acid within the stomach. And so our probiotic is encapsulated, which means it does actually make it past the stomach and the stomach acid. And in addition, it has Wellmune, and so it is time released over 12 hours. And so you're delivering those healthy bacteria to both the proximal and the distal gut, and you're delivering the right bacteria to the right place. And so again, ours was really specifically formulated with this in mind. It's a round sphere. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. What I find is a lot of people, if they do have one that's refrigerated, well, they go on a trip for a week and then of course they stop taking their probiotic. So there's so many things that are putting these three products together, each addressing a different thing. Think about what we've done as physicians. We unfortunately give you guys way too many antibiotics. And when we do so, we wipe out all of the normal gut flora that exist in your gut, and it's replaced by bad bacteria. And then those populate your gut. So there's a lot you can do with just creating a healthy gut. Chiropractors will tell you so many of the times people will come in with skin conditions, and half the time it's because they don't have good gut health. So probiotics, super important. Look at all the studies on it. There's just tons and tons of them. Now, the last one that I'm going to talk about is our newest product that's been out over just this past year, and it's our Omega Plus. And so omegas, why are those important? Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, omegas are important for every single cell membrane, okay? And so again, we're getting back to basic science, but every cell in your body has a membrane or a covering around it, and the omegas help with those. In addition, what we find is the American diet, we don't have the right ratio of omegas. Unfortunately, we have a lot of the omega-6s, which are in a lot of the vegetable oils that you use. These cause inflammation, the exact opposite of what we want to do. So our omegas are very high in omega-3 and omega-7. And why are these important? Well, we're looking specifically at EPA, which is important for, again, reducing inflammation and heart health, but also DHA. And DHA is so important for the brain. And as you guys can tell from my talk, that's a big theme here. We want to all be extra smart. And so that's so important for brain health, but also for eye health. So we're concentrating on omega-3s, omega-7s, but in addition to that, our Omega Plus has vitamin D. D is in dog in it. What we found is the majority of people are low in vitamin D. Even if you're out in the sunlight, we're all using sunscreen now. And so if you were tested, you would find that most of us are low. So this also has vitamin D. Vitamin D is so important for your immune system. That's a big part of it. for bone health, most certainly. And again, it's an antioxidant. Tons of other reasons to have vitamin D on board, but I love this, that it combines both your omega-3s and your vitamin D in this pill, so you're all set. So you have a couple options. You guys saw that I held up the individual bottles, okay? So you could have these in the individual bottles, which make up the Vitality Stack. But the company realized too that we've really been on the go. And so what they have created is packets. And I love these packets because it gives you each of these individual things. And so we recently were in the Bahamas, and all I had to do was grab a week's worth of packets, and I would remember to take them. They're easy to travel with and everything else. Now, why is the Vitality Stack so important? Well, as Fred talked about, initially, our only product out was the Protandim Nerve 2. That's all we had. And when we originally started with people, sometimes it would take 4 to 6 months when people would start on Protandim Nerve 2 for them to see the results. What's so amazing about the Vitality Stack is these products all work synergistically. LifeVantage is very smart. They're like, okay, if we're going to be an anti-aging company, we want to address all the issues with aging. We want to reduce oxidative stress. We want to reduce free radical damage. We want to reduce inflammation. Give us energy, give us sleep, give us gut health. Make sure that our brain is healthy and that our heart is healthy. And so what I have found is when people get on the Vitality Stack, they're noticing those changes that much quicker. Each thing is doing a different thing. And so I also like it because it's just easy to prescribe, right? You just say, when people come to me and go, well, what do I need to be on? I'm like, well, that's easy. This is what you need to be on. We'll get you on the Vitality Stack. You'll be all set. And, you know, again, a lot of people are already taking a probiotic. A lot of people are already taking an omega or a vitamin D. So you're really not changing a behavior. You're just getting them on good quality products. How many of you guys have taken fish oil in the past and they smell rancid, they smell bad, they give you fish burps? That shows you that it's a bad quality product. You're not supposed to be doing it, eating it. It's oxidized. That's why it's rancid. LifeVantage spends so much time with quality assurance, making sure that the products that we have are the best quality. We batch test every single one. Our omegas, you can actually trace them to the boat that the fish comes from. So that's one of the reasons that I like this so much, is that it's just a very easy regimen. Now let's talk a little bit about switching gears and why the Vitality Stack is so important for your business, okay? So think about it. I know those of you guys who are watching from Germany, you know, Germany's starting off with some of the initial products that we did. You know, they have the Protandim Nerve 2 and they have the skincare line. And again, they're going through those initial phases while they're waiting for our other products to be available to them. And it's much harder to build a business when you're doing it in $40 increments. Okay, and in addition to that, people are just taking the one pill and they may not feel those results right away. But what happens instead of building your business on a $40 increment, that you're building it on a $150 increment? And there's 2 people in the family taking that. Do you see how much quicker that you're building your business? And not only that, but you're giving people better health. You're giving people exactly what they need. They're feeling it faster. They're noticing it faster, which means they're much more likely to stay on that regimen. And so, you know, a lot of the things that we're looking at with those recent Yahoo Finance is, why did all of a sudden our third quarter revenues go up? And the reason that they went up is because of stacks. All right. So when you're doing a Vitality Stack, what we're finding is you're bundling the products, they're lowering the price on the bundle, and they're providing free shipping. Your clients, your people who are taking this are now noticing those changes quicker. They're sharing it with their friends, and you can see how much faster this goes. So the first and foremost thing I would tell to people who are already distributors with our company is if you're not on the vitality stack, you need to be. Okay, that's first and foremost. There's no way that you can talk about a product if you're not taking it personally. So the first thing I want everyone to do is to go into their back office and go under shopping and switch your subscription to a vitality stack. Then think about this. People like Fred and I, we've been in the business for a while. And when we first started getting customers, a number of our customers, the only thing they took was the Protandim because that was all that was available. So you can actually go back and you can talk to a lot of your customers and tell them, well, you know, we have some new changes. We have a lot of new things going on where we have some new products that I think really will help you. And get them more information on the vitality stack through social media or email or however you want to reach out to them. But think about if you took all of those prospects, all of those customers, and you upgraded them to the vitality stack. Think about what that alone would do to help rank advance you or get you to the next level. If you look at the Puerto Vallarta trip, which we still have 2 months to qualify on, one of the things the company is telling you to do is upgrade to vitality stacks and to order vitality stacks. They're giving you extra points to earn for this, to earn for the trip. Whenever they give you extra points for anything, whether it's the Pace Setter program or the vitality stack or anything else, they're giving you huge hints that this is how you build your business. This is how you really move things along in order to get things going. And so, you know, what can I say? Vitality stack, vitality stack, vitality stack. It's so important. We obviously have a lot of other products that I can't get into this evening. We have incredible pet tandem, we have skincare, we have Axio, we have weight management, we have so many other things. But if you start everyone on a vitality stack first and foremost, it's a big win for your customers, and it's a huge win for you too. So Gabe, with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up.
That was awesome. I took a ton of notes, and I just want to do, have little footnotes for everyone. Scientifically validated, folks, peer-reviewed science, no competition. You know, who has the more good guys in the end wins, all right? And what Nerf 2 does, as Dr. Glasser mentioned, is make more good guys. We are pioneering Nerf 2 technology. Big, big, big deal. Who wants more energy? Who wants to sleep better? You got to be on Nerf 1. I love what she said there. 60% of people who are taking our probiotic, it gets to where it's supposed to be. It gets to the final destination, right? Where other products, only 4%. No brainer, right? The megas, all right? Important for every single cell in your body. No fish burps. If there's fish burps, it's rancid, as she said. I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Glasser. And I tell you what, everything was just picture perfect. I'm so thankful we have hundreds and hundreds of people on this webinar just soaking this information in. So really, really good stuff. Okay, folks, before I introduce the next speaker, we take a poll. And for those of you that are on right now, under the chat button, just send us, a nice little chat on what you would like to see us train on next month's virtual reality. So everything that you are hearing today is what you wanted us to teach on. All right. And that brings me to our next guest. It was overwhelming on the 300 and some odd people we had on last month. It was all about the basics, what we call phase 1 of inviting and enrolling. And the next trainer is going to be expanding on third-party validation as well. The next speaker is my lovely bride of 31 years. We just celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary in the Bahamas last week, which was absolutely just incredible. What I'm most proud of is when we started this business, unfortunately for us, we lost 3 6-figure contracts. And my wife is really the person behind this family that makes things work. It's not me, it's her. And she was taking the brunt of us losing 3 6-figure contracts, and her hair was falling out. I had the dubious distinction of letting her handle that portion of it And what I did was started this business. And I was well ahead of her while she was handling our two young children who were 9 and 6 at the time, as well as managing all the moving parts to our business. So what I'm most proud today is watching her grow, personal growth and development. I mean, it's amazing on the responses that I'm getting from people that she touches the lives of. And you're going to get a little bit of that today. I love the fact that she's being recognized by the company. They flew her out to Australia to teach the Aussies out there. So she has really, really made up the difference. And if you hear a lot of people's opinion, has passed me on the training side of things. And all of you are going to have her for the next 20, 25 minutes. Love to welcome my beautiful wife of 31 years, Jill. How are you, babe?
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. If you could go ahead and mute your computer, that would be great, Gabe. Just thank you for that introduction. And Gabe is my mentor actually on staying focused, being purposeful, being convicted and strong. So I always look to him. You know, he's got that from his sports background, you know, staying focused. When we get the goal in mind, the mission, the purpose, then we go into action, right? And he doesn't deviate. He doesn't go off that track. All right. Gabe, can you see me full picture?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Because I just have a little one here. And which leads me to, you know, Gabe mentioned that we started our journey where I was actually going to take this computer and go walk it into my closet so you could see it. We'll probably do a Facebook Live someday, but I was literally in my closet praying on my knees. And we fly out to Atlanta, Georgia, and a complete stranger connects with us. That changes our life forever. And now I'd like to share my screen with you. And I take you to one of my favorite images. I'm going to go ahead and keep my slides on the left. Does that look good, Gabe?
Yeah, perfect.
And this is one of my favorite images. And so you go from praying in your closet to 6 years later, getting into a speedboat, going across the ocean where those cliffs are. See those cliffs in the far right corner? Taking us to Capri, Italy, and standing on the cliff with my family. And this is literally one of the most memorable moments of my life. All because of Life Vantage, all because of you, all because of this team, all because of this vehicle that Gabe and Fred and Rebecca have been so eloquent, have shared so eloquently with you. So when you see this image on my Facebook, there's so much behind it. There's so much, you know, grief in the beginning to our journey to sit on at Capri Island, and not to brag, but just to show you the journey and that this is possible. And literally, this is just a vehicle. You have been given a vehicle to go from A to Z. That's it. It's just a vehicle. What you do with it is literally your choice. You have a business. And that's one of the things when I'm out in the field and I'm sitting talking with people, I don't think you really realize what you have in your hands or what it is actually. And all we are independent business owners, distributors. We call ourselves distributors. And think about, I think Fred even mentioned, for low barrier entry, we get to enter a business, an opportunity with unlimited income potential, right? Who gets that opportunity? Where I can go from my knees to Capri, Italy, right? So all we do as independent business owners is we connect. That's why I put connect everywhere. So you understand we're not selling, we're connecting people, distributors, like-minded people, and happen to pipe one of the most profound product lines I think, on the planet through that network. Just like Uber, we connect people like Uber, we connect people like Amazon, right? And we work on the efficiency of that network, the efficiency of putting product, moving product, and teaching, right? We try to improve that efficiency of that network. And so I go from, again, praying in my closet to having a purpose, to be the exception and connect and make an impact around the globe today. So you go, well, Jill, where does this come from? This is where our purpose of our team comes from. It's about connection and making an impact on lives, because when I first retired, or helped our team retired one of our first folks, I realized the magnitude of what we had. A lot of us get in the weeds of the magnitude of our product, but it's way bigger than that. It's way bigger than that. We're making literally an impact around the globe. And I use the example, whether it's just a hug and a smile, or literally retiring someone and sending them on a journey, a vacation they never dreamt of. Our company literally, not only do they pay us, but they incentivize us to do our work. They send us on trips. Who does that? We get a trip for doing the activity we were supposed to do anyway as we build our business. So as I was researching, before I actually went to Australia, Gabe mentioned this, and I pulled this up. You guys, some of you remember this, Barrel of Monkeys? So maybe some of you young folks don't, but it's Barrel of Monkeys. And I love this because I really think it illustrates how we build a network and how we drive deep into our business. And so if you see the little monkeys, right, all connecting with their arms. Now this may be a little girlish, but my point is, that's what we do in this business, is we connect, we lock arms, and we lift each other up, literally. So you go, okay, well, what's your point in all this? Well, let's start off at the beginning. Let's start off with let's say someone wants to earn just $500 a month. How do we go about that? What are those first steps into helping you generate some income and seeing that this actually works, this vehicle that goes from A to Z really works, right? So when one of my first trainings, very similar to this, but we were in a hotel room with my mentor and my upline, Dr. Herbert Harris, who I just adore. I hope you're on today, Dr. Herbert Harris. Love out to you. He was up in front of the room, and he starts to share this about a baseball diamond. And I know some of you are sports enthusiasts. I've learned about baseball over the years because my husband is a baseball freak, right? He went to college for baseball, and he's just an athlete. But so he used this analogy with the baseball field to illustrate how we do the first steps of this business, the inviting and enrolling phase of this business. So phase one is the inviting and enrolling phase. And to be honest with you, I've never gotten out of this phase. There's 4 phases. We're going to focus on the first one today, the inviting and enrolling phase, okay? So he, in the beginning, I didn't quite get it. I was like, I'm so confused. There seems to be so many moving parts. I don't understand this new profession. They're telling me to do this, to do this. It wasn't hard, but it was like this coming at me in all different ways, right? So he used this baseball analogy. Can you guys see that, Gabe? Can you see that okay? Perfect. All right. So what I did is I took this. I'm going to go ahead and go full screen for you, okay? Now I'm going to try to go full screen. It's okay? Okay, so this phase one. So what I did is I actually added a dugout right here. All right. So these are steps in our business that we have to master or get really good at if we're going to launch and create massive action in our business. Okay. So the beginning is the dugout, and it's the database, our names list. At first, I didn't even know what database meant, right? So it's our names list. And so this is, I love this piece of it when we're putting down names. And this was like an epiphany for me. Who do you want on your team? And not only that, I want you guys to start thinking about that. You are putting together a Super Bowl team, the all-star team, right? Who do you want on your all-star team? Think about it. Now, I don't want you to prejudge necessarily, but we're not going over databasing, but I'm just giving you some high-level discussion of things to think about. Another piece is that I want you to write down, when you write their names down and you're in the dugout still, I want you to write 3 to 5 qualities or characteristics of why you want them in your business, why you admire them, why you respect them, what are their strengths, all right? And I want you to write those down with your name, with their name. Because that's how we're going to edify them later on. And you become clear on why you want them in your business. And very often I go, well, why do you want John in your business? Why do you want Caroline in your business? And they'll say, sorry about that. They'll kind of think for a minute. And they actually hadn't thought about it. So I want you to be really clear and discern why you want someone in your business. So for example, I have an example for you. Prospect is Caroline, highly competitive, entrepreneur, owned her own company in San Francisco, and loves to travel, right? Sounds like a perfect fit for our business, okay? So what's the next step? What's the next step for you? And this really made it clear for me because some of these pieces, I don't know if you guys feel uncomfortable as you're moving around this baseball diamond, okay? So I'm gonna move around it. And the next piece is the home plate, okay? So we're right here. I want you to think of the home plate as just your connection point. I almost don't even like that word invite, but it's just a place where we connect at that home plate. It's where you're taking your bat, right? And you're getting ready to hit it. And so, there's a lot of confusion in the field. Excuse me, let me take a real quick drink. We've got some other connection points going on out there with social media, right? So we can connect at the grocery store in person. We can connect on phones. We can connect and send a text out. Again, we can connect on social media. This is just another tool to connect. And I think this is a very powerful tool because we have the ability to connect with a lot more people out there. There are literally millions, if not billions of people out there in social media that we can connect with. So I would really encourage you to start mastering that skill of connecting on social media. Every morning now, I get on social media. I'm learning, I'm watching a video, reading something, and then I go into action immediately, even though it feels super uncomfortable. All right? So those are just, and connection points is that home plate. And then you go, okay, I'm at home plate. What do I do at home plate, Jill? Okay, so we've connected using text, social media. What I want you to do is start that edifying, that word edify, or if that word confuses you, I want you to use the word compliment. This business, edification, all it means is lifting each other up. And most importantly, that's what I want out of our team, is lifting each other up. This world's been tough out here, right? This business is really about loving each other, lifting each other up, making an impact. And so I want you to, so if you go back to, remember how we edified Caroline? She's an entrepreneur. She's competitive, right? She loves to travel. So you would say that, listen, Caroline, you're an entrepreneur. You have this incredible mindset. And then we always ask, are you open to taking a look? Yes. If she says yes, then you move on to first base. You follow me? So let's move on. I'm doing a high level. Now I could go into like a 30-minute training on all of these bases, but stay with me. So first we have the dugout, right? With all our names list. First base is the home plate is the connection piece. All right. And that at home plate, that's where we edify and ask permission. And then once they give us the green light, we move on to first base. And so what is first base? What is first base? Can you see it right there? Can I draw on that actually? That first base is a tool. So you connect, invite, and then you take them to a tool on first base. And that typically is what? Our ABC Primetime Investigative Report. And that is a powerful tool. It can be, if they're a numbers person, maybe it's the income claim statement. Or maybe they're, again, a numbers person, it could be our financial link. We just released those earnings, right? And we had great numbers. So that may be another touch for your follow-up. So again, we connect, we give them a tool, and then what's that next base, that second base? So I have a slide on that. So that first step is to watch that ABC Primetime Invested. So I might have a script like this. The first step is to watch that ABC Primetime Investigative Report. It's going to blow you away. So what I learned over the years is what I do is I actually take them step by step and I go, hey, since you're open, the first step is to watch this ABC Primetime Investigative Report. It's going to blow you away. Can you watch it tonight? Okay, great. And then I'll follow up with you the next day. That's the next step. If you're open, I'll take you to the next base. I don't say the next base, but I give them the next thing to do, okay? So the next step is that second base. All right, and this is where the team comes into play, okay? No pun intended there. This is the team, and this is critical to your business, and this is where I see some of us fall off a little bit. We get a little confused, so we're giving them the tool. We're just dripping information on them, giving a little bit of information. So I go, the next step is, here's another piece. If you see an interest, I'll take you to the next step. And the next step can be a 3-way phone call. Or now we have Zooms, right? We can do Zoom meetings. We can do a 3-way Zoom call. Or someone the other day did a chat, like they did it on Facebook and did a chat. So there's a lot more tools coming out there to connect 3 people together. We can do a webinar, right? Our team has a Monday night webinar every Monday at 9 p.m. This would be the next step. Are you open to going to the next step, which would be second, you don't say second base, but are you open to going and hearing more information? It's going to blow you away. If I were you, I would check it off the bucket list. It may or may not be for you, but I would listen to the full story. Sometimes we do living room meetings, right? We built our business in the beginning on coffee shops and living rooms, right? Very powerful, very intimate. Right? You could be breaking bread together, talking, building those relationships, asking more questions about that person, taking an interest. And sometimes what we do too is do hotels. And we also built our business on country clubs if the expense was right. We didn't want to spend too much money, but we always figured a way to get into a beautiful club, maybe on the river or downtown. And in the beginning, we did that, and we've gone back to that model. Once a month, we do a formal meeting in a country club, all right? And now I'm gonna go back to the second base in just a minute. And then you go, listen, and then you move them to the third base. So what's the third base, all right? That's resolving, let's go to, let me see if I got it all. Oh, so this is a good script for you. I hope you all can see this. It's a little bit off the. So that second base, you would say something. Once you watch this investigative report, the next step is to put you on the phone with, right? Are you open? The next step is to have you watch this global webinar on Monday night to hear the full story. So I tell them, so I don't feel all uncomfortable. Are you open? This is the next step. And those are the words I use. And it makes me feel comfortable in my skin. And it keeps me on task. It keeps me moving through the process. This has to be a duplicable process that they see clearly. And that we're organized and we're professional and we care about them and we're consistent on follow-up. And we do what we say we're going to do. So the next step, let's go to that third base. And this kind of throws people sometimes too, because it feels uncomfortable to get those objections, but all they're doing, they could be testing your conviction. They're not clear on something. They're just asking questions because they're not clear. They need additional information. So if you look at the baseball diamond, the third base is asking and answering questions, resolving concerns, all right? And so if we go on third base, asking and answering questions, resolving concern, so I might say something like this, or Gabe might, let's lock arms and have some fun and travel the world together, right? Because Caroline loved to travel. So what you do in this, as you're moving around that baseball diamond, you're building the relationship, you're asking questions, you're asking permission to move from base to base. Again, you go, this may not be for you, but I would check it off your bucket list. All right? And then I love this, Dr. Herbert Harris taught me this. What do you need to hear to make a decision? Right? And at the very least, this is the product you need to be on. Let me send you the link right now from our new app, right? So, and then you go, okay, then what, Jill? So then we go to that home plate, right? Either way, I love when my husband says this. He says, you know, a customer is a win, all right? A distributor is a win. And so again, I said this, at the very least, can you guys see this okay? At the very least, this is a product everyone you love and care about needs to be on. I'll send you the shopping cart link. And it makes it so easy for them. You just fill it with the Vitality Stack or Nerf 2 or the combo, whatever you have passionately shared with them in the beginning, right? Let's get started today. Are you ready to travel the globe together today? I'll send you the link now. So there's a sense of urgency and professionalism in your close, okay? So that's the home plate. And then they go, you know, this isn't for me. I don't have the time. You know, they're not sure. And this is okay, you guys. My husband always says, no's are temporary. No's are temporary. So what I always do on this piece, because follow-up has been a challenge for me, and I think it always ties back to some kind of fear, our worthiness issues within us, or a belief in ourselves, belief in network marketing, right? We get super uncomfortable in this phase, right? Like, and you don't want it to just go out there and you lose all the work, because we're going around that baseball diamond, right? You're filling up the pipeline, and I'll show you that in a minute. But what I do is I set it up so I don't feel uncomfortable. So I say, would it be okay if I send you emails or text message you just to keep you up to date on this incredible science, the financials, you know, every 2 weeks, once a month. So we have to be professionals and continue to connect and find a system that works for you, because what I find is I get overloaded, right? I have the kids, I'm making dinner, I'm going grocery shopping, doing stuff for the kids at school. And, you know, what do you do with these names, right? You've got your database, you've got your follow-ups, you've got your prospects in the funnel. You have to take ownership of potentially a multi-million-dollar business, right? And come up with a system to keep these names organized, okay? I use an index card box, and I can do training on that as well. That's a whole separate training. The next message is, and I'm going to show you this, we basically this baseball diamond, we run around the bases. We take control of the process. You move your prospect around the bases intentionally. Be a professional. The first step is, the next step is, this may or may not be for you. And I love this one. I was taught, a wise man investigates what a fool takes for granted. So I really am not attached to this outcome anymore. I was maybe a little bit in the beginning, again, because of belief in myself or what I was doing. I really wasn't quite clear on that. So if you're not, we have to identify that, work through that so you know where you're going and you're clear on making an impact around the globe. So this is the visual illustration of how we're moving around this baseball diamond. Do you see how we're moving around? And it's important. What's important, several things, is that we keep the bases loaded, all right? We're constantly moving people around the bases. Whether they get started or they answer your text right away, you're still moving people through the process, your prospects through the process of moving them. And they may come into home plate at different times, right? So you're constantly moving. Here you go. See the illustration where they're moving around that baseball diamond over and over and over again. And you go, well, Jill, you know, it's $1 million question, right? How many people do I need in my dugout, right? How many times do I have to go through the baseball diamond? And when we get started, sometimes we believe we can get like our 5 closest friends, right? Right? We need to be thinking about acquaintances. We need to be getting, at least 100 names on that list. I typically, when I train this material, I talk about going around the baseball diamond 10 times. We'll get you 1 or 2 distributors. We'll join the team initially, right, out of the gates. Those are temporary, right? And then maybe 1 or 2 customers. Depending how professional you are and if you're following the system of phase 1. If you're actually doing the steps, what I find is sometimes you guys want to leave a step out. Now you can jump to a base. You could go to second base and plug them into a meeting right away, but you need to get to that third party. But be very careful. Remember this is network marketing 101 at its most basic level, okay? And it's important that you learn, you grow, and you develop these basic skills of network marketing, the databasing, the connection point, the invite, right? The tools we share. That second base is that third party validation, having someone else share our story or being able to answer questions for that prospect, and then being able to resolve those concerns. And they're usually just about 5 of them, right? Time, money, is this network marketing, right? Just a few, probably about 5 you need to master a response to. Again, that's another in-depth training. What I'm trying to show you right here is your rate of exposure. So if you may be not in a place where you want to be right now, what is your rate of exposure? Do you have those bases loaded? Are you moving people around back to home plate and making those runs necessary to share that information? Are you losing days by lack of focus? Are you stuck by fear? These are all questions you need to ask yourself, because already what Gabe and Rebecca and Fred have outlined, this is an incredible vehicle, right? So let's move on. I could go off on tangent on that. So again, in kind of bringing this together, running around the bases, I'm always taking control of the process. I'm always moving them through the bases. You got the dugout as the database. Home plate is where we edify, right? We lift each other up. What qualities, character does your prospect have? Why do you want them on your team, right? Because some folks, maybe they're not ready. Maybe they need to help themselves before you can help them see clearly where we're going. Also, I think it's critical on home plate that you ask permission. Are you open to taking a look before you just throw down on them, right? Just drip a little bit of information at a time. People are so overloaded. Think where I was. I was in the closet praying. Then you move them to first base, which is a tool, right? The first step is to watch the ABC Primetime Investigative Report. It's going to blow you away. The second base, once you watch this investigative report, the next step is to put you on the phone with, an upline, sideline, an expert, right? The next step then is to have you watch this global webinar on Monday night to hear the full story. The third base, let's lock arms and have some fun and travel the world together. What do you need to hear to make a decision? We cannot be afraid to have them join our business, to ask and to move them to make a decision, okay? You are a professional. You're learning to be a professional, and I know you can do this. Next, I want to pull out, and this was part of our poll. We needed some more information about this three-way phone calling. Hold on, excuse me. I've got to move quickly now. But see on this second base, this is where we play team. It typically, like I said earlier, is a three-way call, Zoom, chat, webinar, living room meeting, and hotel or club. And there's some skills in here I'm going to develop out today on this three-way phone call. And a lot of us avoid, because we come from traditional business, we're used to doing it all by ourselves, right? And we move into this business maybe with an ownership mindset. But with this business, we have to play team for several reasons. All right, so I've got this slide. Gabe, can you see the whole slide?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So these are some things I want you to think about, all right? And if you're developing your own training for your teams, these are things I want you to bring out and develop. So some of you may be on these trainings to learn and also to share with your team. And some of you may be hearing for the first time. So why is this, this second base? Why is this an important step in the process? You're basically following up and you're dripping information when you're going around this baseball diamond. What are the mechanics? What is edification? What do you say to a distributor? What does that expert say? That really freaked me out, that I had to be an expert. Like I would almost shut down, right? I don't want to be an expert. And I would avoid the phone calls, right? Because I was afraid to do this step. So let's work through this a little bit and work towards mastering these skills, okay? But we've got to do them. You've actually got to go into action. So, got that. Okay, so let me back up a little bit before we go to the three. So if you're telling a story, these are components of telling your story. I'm not going to go through them today. This is not what I want to focus on, but you need to be able to master your story, the product story like Rebecca just did, the company like Fred went over, timing, trends, comp plan, and system. I actually had to memorize those steps. I remember practicing those steps. Just memorizing, that's part of our story, our LifeVantage story. So let me ask you, do you have those words even memorized? And then you go from there working on your story. Second base, someone else is sharing this story on second base, not you necessarily, okay? Why? We, the team, can create a third party that can help you, right? We help you get the result you're looking for. The result you're looking for is to build a massive team and to make an impact around the globe, right? Some version of that. Maybe it's just to start off to earn a few extra $100, but that's the ultimate goal, right? And then how do we do this? I'm trying to get you to think bigger, okay? How do we do this? Okay. I got some funny stuff going on. So how do we do this? We bridge, okay, it's important that we bridge the credibility or the influencer gap that may exist between you and your prospect. There's validation and social proof. So I've got a lot of big words there. So what we're doing by adding that third party or that second base, someone else telling your prospect the story, is we're adding credibility and influence that there may not be credibility and influence with your prospect. They do not respect you as a professional network marketer or a Nerf 2 expert or someone who builds a massive network around the globe, right? I still use a third party to help me with this aspect. Also, it helps with validation. I think I hear that word a lot of validation. That third party or bringing someone else in to tell the story to your prospect, it improves, it adds validation and also social proof. Oh, other people are doing this. You follow me? So those are some keywords you can add to your training, or when you're conceptualizing what we're doing, that's what we're doing, why we're adding that piece in. And this is basic network marketing training 101. And it's critical you understand this. So all right? So what we're doing by having this triangle in place, you're bridging the credibility and influencer gap. All right? It's kind of, talking kind of big right there. But let's say you have a prospect named Caroline, right? She's an entrepreneur, right? She's highly competitive and she loves to travel. So there's a lot of trust between you two, right? But by bringing in that expert, right, to help you, to talk to them, whether it be on a three-way phone call again or a meeting on that second base, you bridge that gap. And so I looked up the definition of influencer because they've been throwing it a lot out on social media a lot. Are you an influencer? Are you an influencer? And I wrote this is Webster's description. It's the power or capacity of causing an effect in indirect or intangible ways. So for example, Caroline is your prospect, right? You go, Caroline, are you open to hearing more information? I would love to put you on the phone with my business partner, Jill Pearson. She goes, yes. So you've asked permission. You just haven't just thrown them on the phone. All right. And then you put the expert on the phone. Now, during this whole process, what we're doing is we're edifying each other. So let me move on to the next slide. So I told Jill, the expert, all about you, Caroline. And then you edify the expert, the team member. Jill has 2 kids like you, has built a solid business. She's built the business in between the kids, and now she can travel the globe just like you love to do. So during this whole process, as you're edifying the expert, you're trying to make a connection with her so there's some common ground between all of you. Does that make sense? So you're always edifying your prospect. And just think how it makes her feel. So the expert. So you go, okay, well, what does the expert do, right? This is an uncomfortable space. The expert edifies the prospect, right? So before that phone call or that webinar or that Zoom, we find information out about the prospect. The distributor, Caroline, told me all about you, that you are super competitive. Excuse me, it's Caroline's the prospect. The distributor told me all about you, that you were super competitive and that you played Division I soccer. That's just totally incredible. Wow. And, and that this might be available, and that this might be a vehicle to help you travel the globe and help people like you love to do. So what you're doing what you're doing is, again, trying to work on that connection and common ground. I'm so excited to connect with you. I know you've seen the ABC Primetime Investigative Report, and you've seen our Monday night webinar. All right. Now you go, well, where do we go from there, Jill? So if we recap, I've got the distributor on the phone, right? And she has brought her prospect, and the distributor edifies that prospect to the expert. Then the expert re-edifies that prospect. All right, I gotta hurry, I'm sorry. And so it's important. Basic bottom line is everybody's edifying each other, all right? And then what I want you to do is, if you're an expert, and this is really, really important, and I don't see this done enough out in the field, you go, so if you're the expert, I want you to edify the prospect. Susie, I so admire you, the distributor. So you have reference there. I so admire you. She's leading the expansion of this business in North America. She's the leader in the Southeast. She's a brilliant business person. I'm sure you know that since you've known each other since you were kids. She thinks so much of you. All right? So you're constantly edifying each other is the bottom line. So if you're the expert, what do you say? And this, again, used to freak me out. And what I always go back to, you guys, is what is the objective of the call with Caroline? And you have to be crystal clear in your mind. And it's to build vision. It could be, so it could be to build vision. It could be to move Caroline to make a decision, to move her to a close, or to give her a full story. Sometimes I hear Gabe almost give a full-blown presentation. So you have to be clear on the objective of that follow-up and why you are on that phone call. And also the prospect needs to be clear on why they are getting on that phone call. Okay, no trickery, no all of a sudden we're on the phone, okay? And so how can you be an expert? How can you embrace this process? And I teach this all the time, and it may be a little scary, but if you know those 6 components, if you know the full story of all those 6 components, your story, the company, the product, timing, trends, and comp plan, you'll have no problem with that 3-way phone call or that 3-way Zoom. You will be fortified with information. So does that take effort and homework? Absolutely. So in recap, I'm always taking control of the process. I'm always moving them through the bases. I edify. The first step is to watch that ABC primetime piece. And once you've started that, we connect you with that third party. Is Monday or Tuesday best for you? This may not be for you. However, if I were you, I would check this off your bucket list. So with that, I know I've gone through a ton of information, and that 3-way phone call can get a little confusing, that triangle piece, even for me to explain, but it's critical that you connect, you're communicating, and you're constantly edifying each other. And with that, Gabe, I'll stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to you. Wow. Love you all. Thank you so much.
Jill, that was incredible information. Folks, listen to me very carefully. This is going to be recorded. I wish I had this information when I started building the business. So what she just covered literally is the nuts and bolts of this business. And listen to it over and over and over. Some of my notes, keep the bases loaded. I mean, I'm very competitive. How many runs do you want, right? This is not a 9-inning game, folks. This is a 3 to 5 season, all right? It takes 3 to 5 years, all right, to build your business. I love what Jill says. The next step. That's awesome. I always ask them for permission. Is it okay if I send you this email to let you know what the third quarter, earnings were last quarter? Things like that. What else do you need to hear to make a decision? Oh, that is an incredible close. No's are temporary, right? So very, very important information. I could go on and on and on and on about what Jill covered, okay? Couple things I'd like to cover before we have our last speaker. I want each and every one of you to download and use the new app. You know, sometimes you hear people saying there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of things going on, I don't know what to do. Just go to, you know, the app store and download the brand spanking new LifeVantage Business app. All right, it's just such an easy way to do business now. And then when you do that, you're going to get tickets towards, you know, the Paysetter car. Every time you use it, you get, you know, points towards the Mexico trip. And I want to remind everybody, we hit hard the Paysetter and the Paysetter Pro program on the last 2 months that we did these virtual trainings. Remember, you still have 2 months left. You know, you can still earn an extra $100 on the Paysetter program, extra $250 on the Paysetter Pro, getting people to Pro 3. Plus, you know, raffle tickets to that car, the Indianapolis Pace car. All right. So there are people that have qualified for the Mexico trip in a month and a half, right? You have 2 months left. So get on it right now. Okay. So I want to make sure I brought that to everybody's attention. And what time is it? 12:02. Time's flying. Okay, our last speaker, we're not going to have time for me to go over the comp plan, but I wanted to cover the residual side of things, what Fred Davis was talking about, the assets. So what I'm going to do a little bit later on is I'm going to have a live Facebook on this training. I want to make sure we're all off at 12:30 today. So our next speaker, this is the most exciting for me of all the speakers today. She is highly competitive, which I absolutely love. She is a Division I scholarship, you know, athlete who played soccer for the University of Florida. Check this out, folks. By the age of 24, she owned her own company in San Francisco, California. How about that? Since the beginning of this year, because of LifeVantage, she has been traveling the world. And I know Bob and Sissy Triglia are really, really, really proud of this young woman. I want to welcome Caroline Triglia to the webinar.
I wanted to.
How are you?
Good. I wanted to bring Harlow since I own my own dog.
Take it off mute.
Oh, I'm still on mute.
Jill text her. She's on mute. Maybe so I can undo it. Caroline? No, I can't take her off.
Am I good?
Turn up your volume. Maybe, Caroline?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, good. Well, hopefully you heard that incredible intro.
Sorry, yes, I did.
No worries about the dog. We totally get it. How are you?
Sorry, my mom's trying to track her. No, thank you. I don't think you guys understand how excited I am today. This is kind of like my first speech for LifeVantage, I guess. I've always kind of been under the wing, the shadow of my parents. They're elite Pro 8s. And so it's exciting for me to finally get kind of that step and that leadership in front of this team. So I'm really excited. Thank you, Gabe and Jill.
Well, I tell you what, we've been watching you literally grow, for the last 8 years. I remember you playing soccer at Bowles, and I've always said to myself, I hope one day my kids are able to go to that school. And that's one thing that we're proud of. And I tell you what, we're following your mom and dad's footsteps is what we're doing. So just really, really proud of everything that you have done. And I'm really excited for you to share what you have today with everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm sure a few of the people watching know my parents, but since I'm new here, I kind of wanted to give you guys my story. I grew up the youngest of 4. And if you know my mom, she was a Hall of Famer tennis player. She played in Wimbledon and was invited to the Australian Open. So if you can only imagine growing up in our household, she literally woke us up before school to go on runs. Like literally as a kindergartner, I'd have to run before school. Just crazy. Love you, Mom. I know you're watching, but crazy. But at the end of the day, you know, like I learned hard work really early. And like Gabe said, I played soccer. I loved it. I was great at it. I'm super competitive. And I remember, I will never forget this day. We had a soccer game, and at the end of the game, we lost. It was really bad. And my coach pulled aside our whole team, and he called me out. He said, Caroline, do you want your player card back? For anybody that doesn't know what that means, that basically says, do you want to get off this team? Like, you played horrible. You should just leave. So that was gut-wrenching for me. But before you knew it, I was the captain of our team. And in a few years, I had scholarships to colleges all across the country. At the end of the day, I chose the University of Florida, go Gators. And, you know, the coaches tell you when you get there, it's very rare to play as a freshman. By the second game, I had earned a starting position. It's just built in me, as you can, I guess, genetically from my mom probably, how competitive I am. And I'll never, ever forget, though, before I went to school, my trainer said, Caroline, within your first year, you're going to want to quit. Like, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. You're going to want to quit. But whatever you do, just don't give in. And it's crazy because of all the success I had in my freshman year, that moment still came. And I wanted to quit. I did. And it's crazy because everything that's hard in life, it's worth it in the end, but it's hard in the beginning. And so I'm assuming everyone watching has probably had that moment in LifeVantage, you know, like you get these no's, you have people looking at you like that's a pyramid scheme. And you're like, why am I even doing this? Don't give in, because at the end of the day, it is so worth it. My college career was 4 years. You know, like I knew the day I got there that I had 4 years. And in this company, they say on average it's 2 to 5, right? Just put your head down. You know, soccer was my greatest accomplishment. It was the hardest time of my life, but now I look back and it was literally the best thing I've ever done. Is what I'm most proud of. And so from here, like when people say you can't do something, you do it, feels great. When you push yourself in a way that you didn't think you could do, like these feelings, they don't come often in life, and they're so rewarding. And I just learned in that experience that there's no better feeling in life than growing and achieving things that you never dreamt or thought were possible. And so in terms of LifeVantage and this opportunity, like I said, you guys might know my parents, they're elite pro 8s. You know, I remember my dad when I graduated college. At this point, I think he was an elite pro 7, and he said, Caroline, this is something you need to do. You know, like this is, as we all say, it's the better way, right? And I thought to myself, I mean, us kids, we know everything, right? You know, I was like, okay, Dad, sure, this is the better way. Well, I'm going to go join the real world and make a name for myself. So that's what I did. I moved to San Francisco. I started working sales at Yelp. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that company, but I had to sell advertising, and I had to make 65 plus calls a day and talk for 2 hours on the phone at minimum. It was just very micromanaging, and it was a grind at the end of the day. But I was good at it, to be honest. I didn't really, like I knew what I had to sell so well, but I didn't sell. Like I just was myself. I made people like me and trust me. And that's how I was so good at it. But I actually was talking to someone yesterday about, you know, sales can have this, I'll never forget selling to people that like, it was part of my job. I had to sell, I had to meet a quota, but when I sold them, sometimes I knew it wasn't going to work. And it was gut wrenching, like for them to have to spend money with our company and me know like this probably isn't going to work for them. And so that's what I love about this company. Like the products, like Fred said earlier, works on 100% of people, dogs, horses, everything. And if you actually follow our system, it works for every single person. So love that about the opportunity. But for me, it was just at Yelp. I remember one day sitting at my desk thinking like, is this all I have in life? Like I'm going to be sitting at a desk 5 days a week, making 70 calls. Like it's just not for me. It's just not, like, I'm not built for this. And so within a month of that thought, I quit. I opened up my own dog walking business, and I made more with that than I ever did in the corporate world. And I loved it. I loved having control of my time, being able to say yes, no to people, not having a boss. Awesome. Like I just loved everything about it. And so that's when I realized, you know, as years go on and you see your dad like going on all these trips and doing whatever he wants. I forget who said it earlier today, but it was, it might've been Fred, you know, you don't have to, like, you do it once and you get paid over and over again. And I was a witness to watching my dad. He lived the life I wanted. At the end of the day, that's what turned me to this opportunity. And so like Gabe said, I'm now currently traveling the world, hanging out with my dog as much as I want. And I love my life. Like at the end of the day, I love my life. So today I'm here to talk about social media. And I'm going to try and reel it back to make it super, super simple, because it can be intimidating, especially I know my mom literally doesn't know how to do it. And we sometimes bicker about it because it's so easy to me. And I forget that it's not easy for everybody. So I'm going to try and take it like step by step and really slow and just do the basics that are the most important to duplicate with your team. And so if there's anything that you can take from today, this is the way I look at social media. I look at it as a way for people to reach out to me. Like that's my goal. I want them to see my post and reach me. I don't want to have to, do I reach out to people on social media? Of course, there are times where I do it. But my goal is for them to see what I'm doing and say, how the heck do you do that? Because I want that. So that's my goal. And the way I do that, it really comes down to 3 things. So if you guys want to write this down, feel free. 1 is branding. Whether you're aware of it or not, every post, every article, every picture you share, whatever, you are putting a brand to yourself. That's just how today's time is. People care a lot about social media, and that's just the world we live in. So if branding is number 1. 2, it's really not, social media is not that much different than the real world. And I'll break that down for you. And 3rd is know your audience. So first I want to get to branding, right? So what do you stand for, right? Like these are questions you have to ask yourself and make a list. Like I have a list right in front of me and I know exactly what I stand for, but do you want it to be fitness, like health and wellness? Are you an entrepreneur, family? Do you want to be a motivational speaker? Like you have to know these values that you stand for and what you want to promote. And I'll show you mine. Like Jill said earlier, I love to travel. Like travel is the one thing I post the most about. So travel, I'm a dog mom. I love my dog so much. So I post about her, my family. I have the absolute cutest niece in the entire world. And, I love posting things about her. I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I've owned my own business since I was 24. I love having my time freedom and I love not having a boss. And 5, what I try to encompass in all of that, like my whole brand, I just want it to be known as an epic life. Like I want people to look at my life and say, I want her life. Like that's my goal, is that in all, my brand is just this life that everybody wants. Okay, so that's mine. But I encourage you to write down a list of what you want your brand to stand for. And so knowing now that everything you post is going to create, you know, go towards your brand, like let's take advantage of knowing that and let's be in charge of our brand, right? So I'm going to show you some examples of people that I found that I honestly don't think are good at their brand and ones that are really good at it. If there's one thing to know about branding though, do not put network marketing, do not put LifeVantage, do not share products. Like you want to keep that out of it, right? It's kind of like if I word vomit to, you know, someone that I think will love the products, if I just talk all about the products, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy and there's no way that they're going to want to take the products. It's the same, like you can't just throw everything out there and think that like they're going to understand and want to be a part of it. So here's, let me share my screen. I'm going to show you an example. Let's see, can everybody see my screen? Mom, can y'all see my screen? Okay. So this is a girl that I actually went to college with, and she is part of Rodan Fields, as you can see. If you scroll down this page, it's literally all product. And the reason why this is bad is because I haven't seen this girl since college. And the moment that she sends me a message or a text message, anytime she reaches out to me, I am going to guarantee you it's going to be to sell me on this. And my dad taught me really young, everyone loves to shop. No one likes to be sold. So I feel like she's going to sell me, right? Like she's lost me before she even had the chance, because I know that's what it is and I don't want to be sold. So don't sell, the companies, the product, don't do that online, right? Like you need to sell your brand. Don't sell the company and your products. That's literally 101, like very important. And we'll go to Rachel. I'm sure everybody here knows Rachel. Super successful. Look, she has nothing to do with LifeVantage on here. Nothing to do with network marketing. She's promoting herself and trying to be like this motivational speaker, how to live this life that you want, the freedoms. There's a huge difference, you guys. And people that are just going through Facebook and scrolling down on their homepage, it is very noticeable when you just see people trying to sell or people just being themselves. As you can see on her page too, look at this cover photo. So right here where it says Soul CEO, this is prime real estate on your Facebook page, like prime. Put something like the best picture you have to promote your brand, the best picture you have. So for me, mine's traveling. Like this is me in Fiji. I had my own private villa, my own pool. It was awesome. I wish I was there right now. But this is what I promote, right? My epic lifestyle. Like, do you want to be in a pool in Fiji? Like, come ask me how I do it. Okay, so that's what I'm promoting, right? That's my brand. And then on Instagram, I'm a huge Instagram. Like when I said know your audience, my audience is mainly Instagram. I don't know, I'm sure you guys know Taylor Swift, who she is, huge musical artist. She actually was shamed probably a year ago she got a bad reputation. What she ended up doing was deleting her entire her Instagram. And the first thing she started posting were pictures of a snake. She took on the reputation to be a snake. And she has completely rebranded herself. And the reason I bring her into this is because if you haven't known this whole time that every post you make is branding yourself, or if you think your brand has gone in a way you didn't want, it's never too late to rebrand yourself. Make that list and be conscious of it. Only post things that relate to the list of what you want to brand yourself as. This is my friend from high school. She is a fashion blogger. You can see right here, she has 26,000 followers. All she posts about are fashion. Stick to a brand, right? And this is me. So I'm going to scroll down to when I decided. So from this point below was when I was just posting whatever I wanted to post. From here on out is when I decided I'm going to post travel. And you can see from here forward, everything I'm posting is me traveling. Okay. So I rebranded, right? Like don't be scared to rebrand yourself, to start new. It's fun. And people catch on when you actually are when you're aware of what you're doing. I'll stop sharing my page for now. Can everybody see me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So that's branding for me. So, make sure you put a bio on your page. Mine says, live an epic life. I'm a doggy mom. I'm an aunt. Put those things that my brand, come up with creative little phrases and put them in your bio. So that was what I said first, branding, right? And then second, it's not much different than talking in person, right? And so I'm going to go a little bit further into that. I think that social media, people are thinking really in depth and they try to overthink it when really, less is more. Just like when you're talking to someone about this opportunity, I say, hey, I just found I'm traveling the world. Do you want to hear how I do it? That's it. I don't say, oh my God, I found LifeVantage. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Smaller is best. show benefits when you're talking to someone, why they should join the company. You're not doing it like for yourself. You're telling them like, these are the benefits. Like, Caroline, you're going to travel the world. You're going to get your time freedom back. You're going to continue to not have a boss, right? So in your post, you want to show benefits, like me, I'm traveling the world. I'm showing the benefits of the life that LifeVantage has given me without saying LifeVantage did this for me. Is everyone following? Because that's really, really big. So keeping it simple. Be consistent. So this ties into knowing your audience big time. My followers, and this is with time, you'll figure this out. My followers on Facebook, they don't really respond to much of what I do. They'll like a picture, whatnot. But on Instagram is where I really interact with people. And so Instagram story, Facebook even has story. That's how I post every single day, is through my story. And I'll share my screen again. So on my Instagram, this is where the story is, and it'll show you. So like, this was me at the beach yesterday having a drink. I'm at TPC. I don't know if you guys are aware of the golf tournament going on in Jacksonville. And so I'm sharing things that I'm doing every single day, but it's not going to this post, right? Because when I post too much on this, my audience doesn't like it. On my stories, I can ask polls, and it'll tell you who's responded to the poll, if they voted yes, no. So there's different ways to interact. So really get to know what your audience likes and how to use, the tools that are in front of you. And so as consistent, like Gabe and Jill have a meeting every single Monday night. That is what they do consistently. Come up with something. I just started this. I'm really excited about it. I started it this week. One of my stories is going to be today's office. And then I'll put in it. So last week I did today's office, comfy vibes edition. And it was a picture of me watching Eric Worre training. And I said, featuring Eric Worre. I tagged him in it. Okay. So that was my post for last week. Next week, I'm going to go find a really cool coffee shop, and I'm going to post today's office, like coffee shop vibes, or be at the beach, today's office. Start something. You don't have to do it every single day, but like mine's going to be one a week, but be consistent in what you choose to do. And then be authentic, guys. Be yourself, just same as when you're talking to someone face to face. Don't try and be somebody else that is successful in this business. Just be you, right? That is how you're going to be successful. And at the end of the day, keep it simple and duplicatable, okay? Because that is what is going to, go down with your team, right? It's gonna what duplicates. And I just want you guys to understand that social media is just a tool to help you connect, right? It's helping you connect with people, but you want to get off of it as soon as possible. You want to do it in person, a Zoom, get them to a video. And so for me, like I said, I wanted to be short and sweet, but one takeaway, brand yourself, right? You want people to come to you. You do want to go to them, but for the most part, make your brand so exciting that they come to you and say, what are you doing? And, just know your audience. Know your audience, be bold, have fun with it. Just experience with it, guys. And be patient. Like the first time I posted a picture in Australia, no one said, how are you doing this? It was after I'd posted multiple there. And then I went to Fiji, and then I went to New Zealand, and they're saying, okay, Caroline, you're all over the place. How are you doing this? It takes time, just like it does in person. You're not going to get someone on the first try. You have to constantly, help them along. So just try to not overthink it. And like I said, try and look at it the way that you would if you were just, picking up the phone. Be simple and short and sweet.
Caroline, that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I know there's so much about social media where you can get in such depth, but I wanted to be really simple today. That way there's no confusion and the most important aspects of it.
Yeah, thank you for being simple, because there's a lot of people on here that's, around my age, around your parents' age, right? And I tell you what, you are my favorite speaker of the day. All right, I learned so much, and I've got more. I've got more notes.
I'm sorry if I talked fast. I tried.
No, I got it all. Don't quit. I love that. My favorite people to enroll are athletes because they're highly competitive, like Caroline is. Right? They don't quit. They're teachable and coachable. And I tell you what, folks, that is a trait that you want to look for in somebody. And your own trait, don't quit. It's that simple. You're going to get the living daylights kicked out of you like I have, like she has, but you just keep moving forward and you come up for air every 2 or 3 months and all of a sudden you're in Fiji. You're in New Zealand, right? Okay?
Yeah, and I know Jill wanted me to touch on, how does someone's my parents' age reach out to someone like me on Facebook or Instagram, and I want to refer back to treating it like you would a phone call. Catch up with someone, figure out, do they have a pain? Is it money? Do they want to be traveling more? Is it location? Eric Worre said something along the lines of, oh, you live in Chicago? Great. I've actually been trying to expand my business in Chicago. Would you be open to looking at it? Something as simple as that. Just don't reach out to them and the first thing say, are you looking for more money? We all know that kind of stuff, but just build some rapport and treat it like you would anybody else picking up the phone. Short and sweet, and just find a topic to where you can pull LifeVantage into it instead of the opposite way.
That is so true. You never call somebody that you haven't talked to in years, and
Right.
you start talking about their family. Hey, how's the grandkids doing? How's the children doing? And then all of a sudden you suck on their jugular vein saying, I have an opportunity for you. Discredits you, right?
Yeah, and it was funny because I was actually at a wedding this weekend with the girls that I all played soccer with. And the first thing, they haven't reached out to me through social media, but the first thing they said to me when they saw me is, what are you doing? Because I want your life. And so it's obvious, make a brand and stick to it. Like, be aware of what you're posting. And if you know it doesn't go towards your brand, hold it in. Don't post it. Just don't do it.
Folks, people are watching. You heard what she said. A lot of people aren't liking it or loving it or whatever, but they're watching. And then when you see them in person, that's the first thing they're going to bring up. Also, I love the fact what she said, it's hard in the beginning. Can you imagine going from high school soccer to the University of Florida, the Fighting Gators? Are you freaking kidding me? The level of competition is tenfold. And she got the living daylights kicked out of her, and she ends up being captain. That's the type of individual we're looking for in this business. It's going to be hard in the beginning, folks, all right? Don't quit. Don't give in, is what Caroline said. Follow the system. I love that. I love the fact that she keeps on saying, she loves not having a boss. I love my life. What a powerful statement that is. And I'm telling you what, folks, there's a lot of people will tell you that they love their life and they just work 10 hours that day. So loving your life would be defined as an epic life. I love that statement that she has. With the statement that I wrote down that I thought would characterize our life is, my life is a vacation 24/7. I can pick and choose what I want to do, when I want to do it, where I want to go, with who I want to be with. And it took me 56 months to be able to say that. So folks, it takes some time. Remember that. What I want is, I want to go to Fiji and I want my own pool. That was my favorite picture of all the pictures, Caroline. That was just.
Oh, I know.
What
Fiji's
great.
I daydream of it every day.
Oh my goodness. I will go there. Okay. I love the fact when she was talking you got to tell me what the third one was, because I was writing. Obviously the three things was branding yourself, not LifeVantage and not LifeVantage products. The second one was social media is not that difficult than the real world or talking in person.
Yeah, it's not much different.
Less is more. And what was the third one?
know your audience.
There you go. I'm sorry. I couldn't write fast enough.
Yeah, no. So, and that's just, you know, whether they like Facebook more, Instagram, Twitter, and how much you like to post. Do they like articles? When you share articles, do they like those more, or photos, or do they like interacting and ask when you ask them questions? So just over time, when you do this, just really be aware of how your audience is reacting to it.
Awesome. It's never too late to rebrand yourself. All right. Be consistent. I have a question mark by Instagram. Now I'm going to learn a lot about Instagram from my 18-year-old daughter. All right. Because I know she's only on Instagram. She thinks Facebook is like encyclopedias. I mean, Dad, you're way out of touch.
It's funny because today I actually was on Facebook in my settings, and it said that I've been on Facebook since like July of 2008. It might have even been 2006. Been on for 10 years, which is crazy.
Wow. And see, I don't think of it being that old, you know, we're just now getting involved in it. And I love the fact what you showed, your latest pictures. You know, yesterday, folks, was Friday. And the times that she showed those pictures are office hours. If you were working yesterday, do you want your office hours or do you want her office hours eating lunch at the beach with a Ponte Vedra cup? I saw the emblem, being at the PPC in Jacksonville. Folks, it doesn't get any better than that. And I'm telling you, there's not a person on this webinar that cannot achieve what Caroline has achieved. She just had some perseverance. She had some tenacity, and she just had to learn this business. And of course, she had great role models. My goodness, Sissy and Bob Trigula, you kidding me? And that's what it takes. So you got to be in the game. You can't be outside the game. So thank you so much, Caroline, for that. Okay, I was really inspired.
And the last thing I do want to say, because you know, Jill asked me, when you get in touch with, say, like a millennial, when you're, say, like my parents were able to get in touch with me, she said, do you like what works for you? Is it the ABC prime time? Like, you know, what is it? And I told her, I watch, and if anybody's trying to reach out to a millennial, it's lvbenefit.com. And it's a really quick, it's Seth and Dr. Skip Campbell, and it's about a 20-minute video in all. It's a 3-part video, but I tell people to watch part 1 and part 3. And it goes over everything, but he goes over it quickly. He's so confident, and he does it. He goes over so much important information, yet he somehow still leaves you wanting to know more information. You know, he goes over product, company, how the comp plan works, timing, and system. So it's just a really good, I think, for millennials. If you want to check it out, it's just another video that could really help. So that was the last thing I wanted to say.
Awesome. And remember, folks, millennials, they're faster paced individuals than we are. If we're doing an hour-long opportunity meeting, you lost them in the first 15 minutes. They work at this kind of pace. So if you're hitting that target market, make sure that you keep up with them. If not, you're going to lose them. All right. So with that said, another virtual training in the books. This will be on Connect to Make an Impact. It is recorded, so you'll be able to watch it over and over and over, take notes, be able to get all the information that you've learned from today. I want to thank all the guest speakers. I mean, that just kind of helps you to understand, you know, what kind of team we have. Jill and I are just so absolutely proud, privileged, humbled to be able to have, to even be on a team with incredible individuals like we do. It's a vacation that we have 24/7. So just, you know, what I want each and every one of you to do is just hang on to someone's coattails that you admire, or you want to be as a mentor for you, like I did. I've got 3 mentors in this business that took us to Master Pro 10. And each and every one of you can do the same thing. Huge shout out to all the distributors that opened their house, you know, this morning. Janie up in the Virginia area, thank you so much for opening up your home for your team today. Dr. Rebecca Glasser, thank you so much for opening up your home. It's the two people that I've got information on. So if I didn't mention your name, I just don't have the information. And that was from Amy. Okay, so, oh, and Amy. Okay, so it's Janie and Amy that opened up. I don't know which home it is. I know you can't do, unless you got both homes, but thank you so much for doing that. I mean, it's an integral part of making this virtual training a success. I mean, you realize how hard it is for the speakers to be speaking on the camera right now, all by yourself with no emotion? You need to be with a group of people. This energy that we're trying to convey through this camera, you guys can rub off on the energy and really help each other, answer questions and strategize and help each other build the business that these guest speakers have created for themselves. So with that said, we will be back next month, all right? In the month of June, can't believe summer's already here, with another virtual reality, with another group of speakers. Joe and I are working on that group right now as we speak. So make sure, folks, and I'll close with this, make sure that you learn how to promote. When you get an email from Jill, to say that, hey, there's a webinar on Monday night, you make sure you take that email, that text or whatever it is, and send it to all of your leaders. And then follow up and follow through to make sure that they're sending it to their leaders, and so on and so forth. It's a 24-hour, 7-day, job to make sure that you promote. You hear me say this on the big stage all the time. Who speaks to the most people wins. And if you're just taking this information that you get and knowing it yourself and not sending it out, you're taking 2 steps back, okay? So with that said, again, big shout out to all of our groups, especially for the ones in Europe. Ton and Shalky, thank you so much for your time at the Bahamas. We had a wonderful time getting to know you. Looking forward to developing that relationship with you and your team. Thank you, Marina and Klaus and Alex, for everything that you're doing in Germany. My goodness, it's such an awesome privilege to be able to work with you guys. And again, we can do it via social media. And that's what makes this, so much more, fun, because you can touch people all over the world. And with that said, thank you for being on this morning, sharing your Saturday morning with us. This is Gabe and Jill Pearson. We'll see you next month on the Virtual Connect to Make an Impact Trading. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.